Oh, hello YouTube. We're back for the final part of my top 10 list of favourite films of 2023. If you haven't seen the first part yet, go back and watch the first part. But if you haven't seen the first part, I'll just recap for you what my rules are. My rules are, these are all films that have been released theatrically in the UK in 2023. And it's not necessarily in order of best to worst. This is very much kind of a personal perspective of kind of where I've kind of when I've watched these films and added them to my top 10 list. So it's almost like a bit of a journey through 2023, but from my favourite films of the year. Like I said in my previous video, if you haven't watched it yet, this is very much kind of my personal opinion of the top 10 films of the year. I haven't seen everything, so if I say something that you've seen that you've really enjoyed, why don't you let me know down in the comments below, because I'm always looking for great recommendations. And also, you know, don't hold me accountable for my this top 10 list. It may be in 2 years' time I disagree that these were my favourite films of 2023. But right now, as we're 1 week away from the end of the year, this kind of feels like what is my favourite films. Like I said before in my last video, we've still got a week left of the year. I'm planning to watch a shitload of hot films over the Christmas period. I may see my favourite film of the year in the next week, in which case this video is out of date. But fuck it, that's life. Alright, let's watch some trailers.
Guardians, everything you love shall be destroyed.
Screw you, you stretch-faced, RoboCop-looking purple nurple piece of...
He hung up.
You think?
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, rated pt.2. Tickets on sale now.
So, in my top 6 spot is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Probably, as I've said a couple of times throughout my reviews, if you've watched this channel, I'm pretty much fucking bored of not just Marvel, but interconnected cinematic universes. I just want to watch singular great little films. And while the first Guardians of the Galaxy I really loved, the second one I was not so keen on. When the third one was coming out, I was kind of... Well, no, also after just last year, we had the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, which I thought was fucking atrocious, probably intentionally so. So I was not looking forward to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 at all. And that may potentially have coloured my perspective of why it's on my favourite list, because of my expectations might have been so low, I enjoyed it. But actually, not only did I really enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, it's probably the only film, maybe only the second film on my top 10 list that I wept profusely through. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I was not planning for it to be as emotional as it is. If you're an animal lover, this may be a tough watch for you. It's great. This is just proof that when we talk about Marvel being crap, actually, I think it's crap because it churns out so much volume, and also maybe that there is no singular voices making these films. And James Gunn or Jon Favreau, when he was kind of doing the first Iron Man, when singular voices get to play with these properties, they do really great jobs. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is for me, it won't cap the first one. The first one was its own thing. For me, I think 3 is better than the second one. Volume 3 is maybe a bit too long. There's maybe an extra, climax to the end of the film that didn't need to be there, or 45 minutes could have been shaved out of this. But it's great. There's laughs in it. There are some really kind of wacky, kind of big visual ideas and set pieces that are really great to see. And like I said before, there is a lot of emotion in this. Without really giving too much away, this kind of film has its cake and eats it. It sets you up for what you're thinking is going to happen in this film, and it delivers that, yet it reverses that and pulls it back, where it kind of resets its expectation towards the end, which is really satisfying. It very much kind of feels like, on the one hand, it's the end of this Guardians of the Galaxy arc, but at the same time there is still kind of a hankering of what could come afterwards for the Guardians of the Galaxy in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 it is by far the best Marvel film I think we have seen in at least a good few years, if not the best since, for me, whatever, Avengers Infinity. Oh my God, what the fuck is it called? Infinity War? Oh my God, this is how much they're so disposable. Anyway, it's one of the best Marvel films in quite a while. I think there are some people, like my wife, who really like the first Guardians of the Galaxy, but has not kept up with all of the films that have come since, and will potentially, not see the third one, or see it and not really like it because they've had to watch not just the second Guardians of the Galaxy, but a whole other, slew of kind of Marvel films in between. And that's why I think the Marvel kind of cinematic universe is starting to crumble, is because they kind of they've kind of built up such a huge commitment with their audience that you can't just dip in and out anymore. And and for me, like I said, I've kind of given up on the Marvel films. However, I'm really glad that I did see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, because I think it's a really nice cap to those three films. So, my next spot is Brandon Cronenberg's Infinity Pool.
I've been waiting 6 years for your second book. Is it coming out soon?
I'm working on it.
What do you do for money then?
You married rich.
I actually came here looking for inspiration.
How do you call the police?
No police. This isn't a civilized country. It's brutal and we're not getting picked up for this.
It was an accident!
She's right. It's very dangerous for us now.
So, Infinity Pool, again, this is another one of my recommendations where I would go in and say, you have to like extreme cinema to watch this. This is not just a violent horror film. This is a really extreme violent horror film, both in terms of some graphic depictions in it, but also, this will give you icky feelings, like you are really uncomfortable in the world of this film. However, if you are up for this really kind of maniacal, weird, gooey, strange, nightmarish thriller, sci-fi thriller, really, sci-fi horror thriller, really, I think you're going to have a good time with this. Kudos has to be given to, it's a squishy, grungy, practical effects kind of horror movie, but kudos has to be given to the cast of this. This is Mia Goth and Alexander Skarsgård. Is that the right one? Yeah, that's him. Alexander Skarsgård. And for two relatively big names, these guys fucking go there with what they're doing on screen. It's an extreme watch. It's weird. It has a really unusual feeling to it. It almost has little bits of flavours of Terry Gilliam, where you feel like this story is not really quite set in our world, but kind of a slightly adjacent parallel world where things are just a little bit different around the edges for it to be unusual. But yeah, this is a kind of really great, gooey kind of watch, but again, with some caveats that it's pretty extreme. Okay, so in the 8th spot is The Integrity of Joseph Chambers.
You're not from here, Joe.
Can I borrow your rifle?
You need ammo?
Nah, I bought some. Sorry.
If you just wait till next week, I can go.
Thanks again.
I'm the mustache man. I'll catch it, I'll kill it any way I can.
The Integrity of Joseph Chambers, the follow-up film, directed by Robert Mashoidian, I think his name is, who is someone who came on my radar a couple of years ago with the film Killing of Two Lovers, which was one of my favourite films in the year. The title, you think it's going to be this kind of tough thriller, but actually what it really is kind of like a strange family drama / subjective story about a husband going through the breakup of a marriage. So that was a great film. And so I've been really kind of keen to know what he follows that up with, and that was followed up with The Integrity of Joseph Chambers. Here in the UK, it went straight to DVD, which I can somewhat see why, because this is, again, like I've said with a lot of things, this is potentially a required taste. The film essentially, on the one hand, people could say, well, this is like a stage play because it's just one person on screen for nearly the majority of the film. However, this is really, it is cinema because it's set in a really great location. It uses kind of cinematic techniques in terms of when it chooses to edit and when it chooses not to edit really well. Yeah, beautiful big landscapes in there, and so a great piece of cinema, but has only one character in this for the majority of the film. There is only one actor in this to watch, and people will find that slow and they will call it boring. However, if you want to go with something of just being trapped in a story where our lead character is unraveling, and in totally they're coming in there, they're unraveling because of their own making, this is a great tense piece of work to watch. Robert Jourdain, like, again, to me, is someone who feels like he's just doing his own thing, and you know, it feels like he could be offered a Marvel movie because, you know, he's kind of a cool indie kid, but he's instead deciding to make these kind of really kind of strange super testaments to indie cinema and the spirit of having like alternative choices of what to watch. So in the number 9 spot is Past Lives.
Childhood sweethearts reconnect only to realize they were meant for each other.
He was just this kid in my head.
I think I just missed him. Did he miss you? This is my life. This is where I'm supposed to be.
So Past Lives, I won't say too much because I definitely reviewed this on my channel, and I think when I did my review I probably said this will be in my top 10 films of the year, and it very much is in my top 10 films of the year. This is something that I've really been hankering to go back and rewatch, and definitely that will be something that I do over the Christmas holiday. Annoyingly, there is a Blu-ray that's been released of this, but the no 4K Blu-ray, however, and the Blu-ray set has got some really great special features on it. However, it is available on 4K to buy off of Amazon. So this is a thing where you want to go with the physical media choice because there's bonus features on the disc and you want to kind of own the actual disc of it. But the most premium kind of resolution format is kind of like on streaming. Anyway, weird nerdy conversation, which is essentially to say I think I'm going to buy it on Amazon Prime and then keep my eye out for a 4K Blu-ray because I'm hoping this does get released. This has started cropping up not just on lots of top 10s of the year, but pretty close to the top of top 10s of the year. I think Sight and Sound put it in their number 2 or 3 spot. Go back and watch my old review rather than sound boring. Past Lives, if I were going to pick a favourite film of the year, it may be Past Lives. A really great picture about beautifully directed, great script, great acting, huge kind of wealth of, you know, interesting locations, and just kind of, you know, where some cinema just feels like it's all green screen and unreal. This is set in New York and it has beautiful kind of photography of New York, and then also is in contrast with Seoul. And has some beautiful photography of seeing Seoul on screen. So Past Lives, definitely recommend it. Don't care who you are, watch it. And on my number 1 spot, ending a little bit of a theme I think in cinema in 2023, my number 1 spot is, again, not number 1 because it's the best film of the year, but the last film that I added to my top 10 list is Blackberry.
Picture a cell phone and an email machine all in one thing.
What do you call it?
It's called a BlackBerry.
You guys have no idea how to run a company.
If we put more phones on these networks, they're going to crash.
You said they were the best engineers in the world. I said they're the best engineers in Canada.
I created this entire market.
In the middle of a hostile takeover!
So the trend that it is there have been quite a lot of films this year, like Air, that are about, you know, true life stories around products, as well as as well as Air and BlackBerry. We also had Tetris. And then we also had the Flaming Hot Cheetos film. So it very much kind of feels like there's been a bit of a kind of a trend of doing films about sort of consumer products. BlackBerry, like I said about Air, there's a way to. This is a great workplace drama, and it is about how working in offices and working with other people is dramatic, and you deal with fucking dickheads, and you deal with stress all the time, and you deal with things that may not necessarily be your passion, but you know that it's the right thing to do a good job on things. But then sometimes there are things where work brings out the worst in us in terms of our egos, and BlackBerry is all about that. It's also got, as I said in my review, I did review this, you can go back and watch that, and I won't go into this too much more, but it's about the recent, for me, as someone who's 40, it's about, you know, the relatively recent past about, oh yeah, I remember when people started talking about BlackBerries and when we all started saying, oh, they're crackberries. And I think if you don't realise what our world was like pre-iPhone, the BlackBerry was our first kind of taste at being able to get the internet and look at emails on your mobile phone, and it was the, you know, kind of a status symbol of its time, and it's just really interesting to the story of it. Again, it has a really great script, has a great pace to it. I wasn't all that familiar with the cast other than Jay Baruchel. I really didn't know anyone in this. One of the guys is from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, show I've not seen, but everyone in this was relatively fresh to me. And again, I totally kind of fell into it and all the performances, despite not knowing who the cast were. This BlackBerry, sadly, here in the UK, it seems to have been kind of forgotten about. It got a very limited theatrical release. No one really seems to be talking about it. I think earlier in the year it was released in the States. I'm guessing sort of about May, June, July time it was released in the States. And I was aware of a little bit of a chatter around it then. Things have gone relatively quiet about BlackBerry. It's so much so here in the UK, I don't even know whether it's available on home entertainment, home entertainments yet. You certainly can't buy it on Amazon Prime, and there is no Blu-ray release of it yet. Again, which is a shame because this film I'm really keen to rewatch. That was WhatsApp. So BlackBerry, again, another film that I would definitely recommend watching, and I think is a pretty good all-round choice for anyone that I would recommend to. So that's it. Just overall, I mean, I'm getting older, so maybe I'm just boring, but this feels like a year where it's not been too hard to pick my top 10 favourite films of the year. I think cinemas increasingly I think this year will be seen as a bit of a turning point where those big blockbusters of repeating franchises have failed, and let's hope cinemas start getting filmed up with unusual singular voices and indie films, and Barbie and Oppenheimer proved that people want to get out of their house and go and see films on the big screen. We really have to have a reason to do that. We have to have a reason beyond just something to go out to. We want to go out for experiences, and part of that experience is seeing great films and wearing pink cowboy hats. So that's it. Keep watching back on my channel. I might do some reviews over the holiday period, but probably not. Probably, I'm guessing the next thing I'll review is Priscilla, which comes out here in the UK on the 1st of January. So don't commit. I'm not committing to that, but I'm saying that might be the next thing. No, The Boy and the Heron, Miyazaki's new film, which comes out here in the UK on Boxing Day. I may review that. I'm not sure. Don't commit to it, but follow, like and subscribe and see if I do. All right, bye.